Hello and welcome. ProGeologist here. We're going to talk real quick about what it means to bring a KML or a KMZ file into Google Earth Pro versus loading those pesky files that are specific to Google into Google Earth on the web. Really, it seems like it's a tricky process, but it's actually more straightforward than most would like to think. So let's get to it. We're going to take a look at how we can add data, whether that be a KML, key markup legend, or a KMZ file from Google Earth into Google Earth Pro. Now, the version that I'm using right now is on a Mac. It doesn't matter if you do this on a Mac, it doesn't matter if you do this on Windows, and it doesn't matter if you have a version of Chrome, or a Chromebook rather, that you are operating with. But the key here is that you have to have the application. You have to have downloaded this from Google and installed it on your machine regardless of the OS, regardless of the operating system. Now, normally and traditionally what we would do is we'd actually go to a folder once we've downloaded the KMZ or the KML, and I could simply come in here and you'll notice that my mouse is showing a plus sign as I drag that KMZ in, and I would drop. That means, one, I've got the file locally, two, I've got the application locally, and now when I drop those in, I can see the data that are behind that particular file. I can pan around in here, I can click on a couple of things, and I can see all of the different data that I've brought into my temporary places. So this is the traditional route to go about using KML and KMZ files within Google Earth Pro. What we're going to demonstrate now is actually how you can bring these same KMZ and KML files into Google Earth Web API, so the web application of Google Earth. Now, the caveat is, as most of you are probably aware, the full functionality of Pro does not exist in the online version. But if all you're trying to do is make some simple measurements, say like what we have with the Rift C or the Rift Valley right here, we can go between A and B and make our measurements just fine. But just keep that caveat in mind that there are some limitations to the web application, and that's why you should likely be working with Google Earth Pro. So let's switch over. Let's take a look at how we can do this, bring KML, KMZ files into Google Earth Web. That would be the web GUI, the web version of Google Earth. And I simply found that by going and Googling Google Earth. It was one of the very first hits that I got. I loaded it, it loaded this view, and you can tell, hey, beautiful view, beautiful aerial photography, great information to have for remote sensing. And now the big thing that I have to double check and make sure is, if I come up here to these three bars, looks like a stacked hamburger, sometimes they're referred to as ellipses, but if I click on that, you'll note that I've got my own personal Google account that I'm logged into. So that's the first thing you have to do, is you need to come in here and you need to log into your own Google account. That is going to be the very first step to be able to access a KML or a KMZ file. Now, the second thing is that you need to have saved that KML or that KMZ file to your Google Earth folder. Now, I say Google Earth folder. The second thing that you'll need to do is make sure that you have saved a copy of that KML or that KMZ file to your Google Drive. Because what you're going to do is you're going to use your personal Google Drive, or if you're doing this from a school standpoint, use your school Google Drive, and you're going to link that to what's going on with Google Earth. Again, this is why you need to be signed into your account. So if I come up here to the hamburger, come up to the ellipses, I have a couple of different things that I can do. I can mess around with photos, maps, etc. But what I am actually going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go to this line projects. And I'm going to click on this, and it's going to allow me to start setting up a project. You'll notice I have the option to open things. If I look at open, I can import a KML from Google Drive, or I can import it from my computer. I can also create a whole new project and save this on my Google Drive. If I wanted to create my own KML file, if I had metadata and I had remote sensing data, I had GIS data that I wanted to use, I could do that as well. In this case, we're going to simply bring in a KML file. So I'm going to click import, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to look for Google Earth. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've looked for Google Earth, and you can see that I've got a bunch of files in here. You notice I've got one that's titled Red Sea. I'm going to click on that. This is a divergent boundary KML, and this is what we're going to bring in here in this case. I'm going to select that. It's going to go ahead and think away, and then what it's going to do is it's going to plot this location on Google Earth. And again, it's inside the web browser. You'll notice that what I had done in Google Earth Pro versus what I'm doing in the browser version, they look a little bit different, but at the end of the day, our data are still here. I can still see endpoints that I can click on and that I can get details on that are there. I can also, if I wanted to, step back out and I can use my measurement tool. And in this case, I could measure from one point to another point. Or I can turn around and I can even close off and make a polygon that's going to give me a measured area. So there are a bunch of things that I can do with this. I'm going to click Start New. I'm going to close that out. But again, to just recap, what we did is we went up to the little hamburger, the ellipses, we chose projects, and then we chose to import. And we went to our Google Drive, which again is linked here in Google Earth, and we chose the file that is the KML or the KMZ file, and we simply just imported that. And now these data are being shown in the map, and we're able to go forth and address any questions that might be thrown at us. So there you have it. Putting together this idea of importing a KML or a KMZ file in the Google Earth web version versus putting it into Google Earth Pro. And there you have it, a simple way of being able to bring in a KML or a KMZ file into Google Earth Online. And we do this all in respect of being able to explore our planet Earth through the lens of GIS.